Greetings everybody. Today I'm going to give a quick demonstration on a workaround to an issue I ran into recently with Davinci Resolve version 12.5. I was importing video clips for a project and discovered that no audio track was coming in with them, and I had no idea why. The video clips played with audio just fine outside of Resolve. In this video I'll explain why that happened and what I did to get the audio into the timeline. So the underlying issue is that Davinci Resolve version 12.5 does not import audio sampled at less than 32 kilohertz. I found this out by digging in the PDF manual that gets installed alongside the program. I'm using a Nikon D3100 SLR camera for some basic video work, and it records its audio at 24 kilohertz. Unfortunately, there's no setting available to change the sample rate. The only option for me was to resample the audio and import it separately into the timeline as a separate standalone track. I should point out here that newer versions of Resolve, like versions 14 and 15, had no problem importing my 24 kilohertz audio clips. I thought it might be because it was an officially supported sampling rate. However, the manuals for both versions still only list 32 kilohertz and higher. Not sure exactly what's happening with the new versions, but I just figured I'd point that out. I have to keep running 12.5 for a while due to some hardware limitations that I have. I use using the media info program. I was able to confirm the source material that I was working with was in fact 24 kilohertz audio. I'm sure there's a few different ways to extract this information from a media file, but I've used media info for a long time now on both Linux and Mac. Mac users can install it with Homebrew, so brew install media info, and Linux users are likely to find it in their respective distribution software repositories, whether you're Red Hat or a Debian based. Here on a clip from a prior YouTube project of mine, you can see where you can find the audio sample rate in the output from media info. So after confirming my sample rate was in fact only 24 kilohertz, I should say, I went on over to FFmpeg, another nice utility that you can install on Mac, Linux, or Windows. I want to do two things with it. First and foremost, I want to extract the audio out of the video into a separate audio only file. And then part two of that would be as part of the extraction, resample that audio to 32 kilohertz. And for the command for that, you can see that here. Now, before I press enter, let me point out what each of these pieces of the command are doing. The -I is the input file with which I want to work. The -VN tells FFmpeg that we don't really care about the video part of this file and to only concern yourself with the audio. Next, the -A codec AAC tells FFmpeg to use the AAC audio codec, or encoder I should say, which is a frequently used and highly supported codec and encoder in today's world. So it's kind of, don't want to say standard, but it's pretty frequently used, and most applications can deal with that just fine. The -AR32000 tells FFmpeg to resample the source audio to 32 kilohertz. And then the last part of the command line is the destination file to which to write. I like to keep the same file name, including the .mov, but append .mp4 onto it. That's just helps me keep track of files in the media bins and timeline in Resolve. Now I'll go ahead and hit enter. Depending on a lot of factors here, this could take a few minutes to complete. The size of the source video and your system specifications will ultimately decide how long this takes. Okay, so now that I have my separated audio, I'll go back into Media Info and confirm that it shows 32 kilohertz under sample rate. And you can see that it does. It's probably a good idea as well to open the file up and give it a quick listen. I've also done that, and it sounds as expected. From here, you would just drag the new audio file into your media bin in Resolve, just as you would any other clip, graphic or what have you. And then from there, drag it into your timeline where you want it to start, which you would want it to start at the beginning of the corresponding video clip to it. And then you would just link them, the video and the audio together, and that's basically what you would have if it had imported correctly to begin with. Thanks so much. Hopefully you found this useful.